first name?
Nadine, Nadine.
Okay, and your last name is?
VanMechelen, VAN, capital MECHELEN.
Did you want me to move my camera?
I want to write that M-C-H-E-L-E-N. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to have you sign this. This just says you can use whatever right here is this line right there.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. If I don't take care of the paperwork, it's like then I leave and I say, oh, no, I have to mail it and hope that it goes where it's supposed to go.
And then who do you work for?
We actually are just a group of friends who want to do this film about the 1964 flood. So
Oh, okay.
We are not, we're not official.
Okay.
We're not a business. We're not.
You'll just show your films
Yeah, we're
at
planning-
home and around, or
well,
what?
We're hoping to at the 50th anniversary is this year in December, and so we're hoping to have some like movie theaters show it locally.
Oh,
and,
I wish I fixed my hair. What? How many years that happened?
50.
50.
50 in December.
Oh my goodness!
Get that underneath your arm there, just so that we don't like see it.
It doesn't seem like 50 years, does it? That happened.
Time just keeps on going.
I know
by.
it has been.
Well, how old were you?
How old was I? I'm 80 now.
Okay,
So
you were 29 probably.
Yes.
29 in the because 80 now, and then sometime this year. When do you turn?
September 29th is my birthday.
So you were 29 during the 64.
Oh, okay.
And the 64 tsunami.
Can I have you sit over here a little
Further over.
So she's looking closer.
Ah,
Get this all worked out.
Nadine, are you comfortable in that position?
yes. Or no, it doesn't matter anyway.
Just want you to be comfortable.
Yes.
Can I do one thing? Sorry, I'm the wardrobe guy.
Oh, okay.
I just
Yeah,
noticed your
that's
collar's
in my
popping
frame
up here.
too.
Okay.
I'll just pull this back over.
Okay.
That sound okay?
Jen, the mic levels are.
Yes, I was young then. I remember now.
I know the time goes by and it seems like it speeds up. It doesn't slow down at all. It just speeds up faster and faster.
And I'll do a sound sync here. For sure.
Great.
This is our clapper.
Okay.
Scene one, take one. Here we go.
So we're going to start with the very easy question, which is for you to say your name and spell it for us.
Oh, okay. My name is Nadine VanMechelen. Nadine, capital VANMECHELEN. VanMechelen.
Great. And how old were you during the 1964 flood?
29.
29. And I'm going to have you say complete sentences because we're going to cut me out of it. So
Oh,
you'll
okay.
just say, I was 29 during the 1964 flood.
Oh, okay.
Okay. How old were you during the 1964 flood?
I was 29 years old.
And did you have family living here?
Yes. My mother and father had a home up on the Klamath River. And my father and little boy was up there 2 days before the flood.
Oh my gosh. Up there for 2 days during the flood or
Before
before
the
they got
flood.
back in time.
Yes. My father had the flu, so he came out. And my little boy was maybe 4 or 5 at that time. And that's what saved him.
What were they doing up there?
Well, they had a home there. And during the flood, they lost 6 acres of land, their home, their cows, their pigs, the dogs. And it just came down and just took out the whole place. There was nothing there.
And was that in the town of Klamath or
No,
was it
it's
further
up. It's upriver. It's where Brooks Riffle is. McCoveys also had a home next to theirs, but their home was saved and just took that part of the land.
What was your father's name?
Emery Matz and Geneva Matz. It was part of the Brooks estate. It was her grandfather's land that was the home was built on.
And you were Yurok, am I right?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
My mother's Yurok and my father is Talawan Portuguese.
I'm Portuguese too.
Ah. Mm-hmm.
So, I've heard that Yurok people, instead of using cardinal directions, have such a affinity and affiliation with the river. They talk about upriver and downriver as being the direction.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you talk about the river and being Yurok and what seems like the river is such an important part of Yurok people?
Well, it always has been because of the fishing. And this is where the Indians lived. So,
And did you know other people who were affected by the flood?
Oh, everybody was, really. Yes, everybody was. I had a friend that knew an insurance adjuster, and she had called me, and she says, Nadine, we're going to Klamath. He has to fill out some papers for people. Do you want to ride down with us? And I said, of course. So I came down, and when we got by the cannery, Paul's Cannery up this way, there was no trees, there was nothing. Once in a while you just see a bush or a tree limb sticking out with a piece of plastic or cloth on it. And mud up to here. They got down further and we could see just the strong cement buildings survived. And then there was nothing but mud and tree sticks with no leaves. It was bad. It was just dreadful. There was no town.
And so your some of your family came to stay with you?
No, I lived in Crescent City.
You lived in Crescent
Yes, we lived in Crescent City. My parents had a home there, but they also had their summer home up on the river where they would go in the summertime. And then my father always had pigs or cows and things on it, so they went back and forth. But they lost everything. But my mother said, she was a very strong woman. She said, oh, Mama, the lady next door, they didn't lose their home, but her granddaughter was there, and her small children and her husband, and they had to go to the mountains where our cabin is now, rebuilt and they had to go up there to survive, and they were there for about 2-3 days before her father and her grandfather went over and got them. And she said that they could hear the redwood trees fall. Oh, it was dreadful. They just cracked like matchsticks and would be falling, and the noise.
I imagine the river noise too, just all that sound of the rushing river made a lot of noise.
And my mother said, she said, well, thank God that Dad had gotten sick and had gotten out of there, him and the little boy. She just built a little tiny cabin, just a small place. And I think there isn't very much land. We lost all the fruit trees and walnut trees and things. And that's where we go in the summertime.
When when you say you lost 6 acres of land, does that mean like the silt came on top of it, or did it, sometimes the river comes and carves it away?
It carved it away. Just took everything. They're just a large river bar there now instead of where our home was. So, but it was a dreadful thing.
It's just, I hear so many stories of, in fact, in my husband's family, they had a place, a cafe in Wiat, and in the 55 flood, they lost their cafe, and the 64 flood, they lost their cafe. And then they built on higher ground after that and got away from the river. But it just, to hear about people losing everything so many times and still, like, being resilient kind of and coming back and rebuilding or
Yes.
Continuing on, it just seems like they had such great resilience.
Yes. Well, that's the way my mother was. They built a small cabin and started over again. It's very nice up there. It's very beautiful, and it's very warm. They had a large garden, and she used to have tomatoes would get this big. They would break, you know how tomatoes break and crack because they're so heavy. Well, that's the way her tomatoes was. And the roses, just beautiful roses she had.
And did they fish for salmon up there, up near there?
Yes, we fished for salmon too. So
Nice.
it was very pretty. We went there in the summer when we were young girls. And then her grandfather and mother lived there. And so it just home. Then they have the place here on Requa at the mouth of the river. So it's always been her home.
That's great. That sounds beautiful. Now, did you, well, you were in Crescent City, but I'm sure you heard about whether, with the community kind of coming together and helping each other recover after the flood?
Oh, yes. Everybody helped everybody.
Almost.
Yes.
And how about people whose place, maybe it was, water had come in? Did people help each other kind of go in and clean houses out, some of the silt and things? Did you hear much about that?
I don't know, but I imagine they did. It's
Your friends did.
yeah.
Did
Dreadful
Vina
thing.
have a bunch of people living at her house? Or I guess that was your mom and dad's, or?
No, I don't know. So
So, since we have you here, and since you mentioned the 64 tsunami, I figure you might want to tell us about that.
yes, I can tell you about that.
Okay, let's talk about that.
All
I
right.
know, it's not part of the movie. It's okay, you guys. I'm
Okay.
always like, when there's a great story, I can't help myself.
Well, I knew some of the people that died in it. I didn't know them personal, but I knew them when I seen them. And
Yeah, so just say that you're going to tell us about the 1964 tsunami.
okay. I know some things about the 1964 tsunami. I was there. What my friend lived where Safeway used to be across the street. She had a beautician shop there. And she had phoned me and she says, turn on your TV. We're going to have a tidal wave. And I says, really? So we turned the TV on. I was living with my parents then. And she says, she starts screaming on the telephone. She says, oh, the water is coming in under my door. Oh, she says, and she hung up the phone. So what happened was the water came in, and where she lived was also the lumberyard and McEmar and Pete lumberyard. So I really don't know whose equipment it was, but they brought it in, took her and her children, her 3 children, out. And meanwhile, when all this was happening, she went to open the door and she cut her wrist, cut her arm here. So they had taken her to the hospital. And she told me later on that when she went to the hospital, on the side, because it was very busy, very noisy, she said, was bodies that were covered and that they had already brought in afterwards. Now I don't know the time of between everything, but this is what she said. And then I also know how some people died. I don't know if you want to know that or not.
Well, I would say whatever you want to
Okay.
share is.
Well, down by the light ice plant, there used to be a trailer park, and this young girl had 2 children, and her and her friend was there, and they were trying to get out of the trailer. She had 1 child and he had the other. They were about maybe, I can remember them about maybe being 7, that 8, somewhere along there. And she said when the wave came, it just swept them out of their arms, and the children drowned. Her and him survived because they're stronger, could grab onto something. And then a little ways down from the ice plant, where the ice plant is now, there used to be a bar on the left-hand side. And where I lived in Northcrest, these people also lived about 2 houses down from me. The young man that owned the bar had his mother and father lived down from where I lived. When the tidal wave was, anyway, he put him in a boat from the bar. You had to cross the street, and there was his mother and father, his girlfriend, a man and a woman, and the boy. I remember the boy their son being about maybe 29, 30, in that age, just a young man. And it tipped over, and they all drowned but him. And someone had told me, he had said, when he was under the water, he could tell that there was somebody close to, and he thought it would be his father. So when he went up and brought him up, but it wasn't. It was the other man, and he was already had drowned. So I know that. And then up where the hospital used to be, there was a little swampy place there, and there were little houses. And there was a black man lived in Crescent City at that time, 2 families. But he was always by himself, big, tall black man. And he drowned. And then had little cabins there. There was an Italian man, little short guy. He also drowned. Then I had a cousin and her kids. They lived in one of the little houses, but they weren't home at that time. So that's what I remember about that dreadful time. Yeah. And where my parents' home in Crescent City was further away from the front of the beach. But that was very dreadful because it just washed everything out, and wrecked it down the buildings and mud and, just awful. I had an aunt that's husband had a auto repair shop, and he lost it in the flood. It was right in town at the time. Mm-hmm.
Did you feel an earthquake with that tsunami at all? I know it was centered in Alaska, but I was wondering if you could feel it at all.
I don't remember feeling it.
Yeah,
no.
I don't know that people could feel it here. I just know that, you know, that
No.
originating earthquake was up
We-
in Alaska. It was
we
huge.
really-
It was over 11.
I
Yeah.
don't think that the flood came until about 5 hours after the earthquake.
Yeah,
And so what they say now is if you feel an earthquake, get up to high ground.
yeah,
And so if it's a faraway earthquake, we have to listen for the tsunami
uh-huh.
warnings, the
Right,
tsunami
because
warnings.
you don't even feel
Because
the
we won't
Mhm.
feel
Yeah.
it, yeah.
And they say if you feel it, yeah. I just heard like if it lasts for 20 seconds, then head up to high ground.
Yeah.
I just was someone was
Yeah,
saying
well,
that.
we didn't even know there was one coming until the phone call. And she said that, so
Then it was,
she had no idea. They had tore all those houses down, and it's all different now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that story too.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions you guys have for Nadine about?
I don't have any questions, Jennifer.
Okay, great. Oh, one thing I always like to ask is if there were a flood now of the same size and intensity of the 1964 flood, what do you think might be different? Do you think people would pull together as much? Do you think people would recover as quickly, or what do you think would be different?
Oh, I think they would help each other. I think I think there's more money out there now from the government to help rebuild and do things even quicker and better than what it was done then. And I think people would come back to rebuild no matter how many times it flooded.
We never learned.
I know we will always be here. Our home is up high, the Requa home, and the little cabin up the river will rebuild no matter what.
That sounds fabulous.
Just
the
home.
Cabin on the river. It's beautiful, idyllic. Yeah.
Mhm.
Great. I think that's it. I think that was great.
Oh,
Thanks
I hope
so
I
much.
helped you.
Oh, absolutely you did. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Let me get you.